everyone, I'm Kelly and this is Kelly Hill Yoga, 30 Days of Yoga, day 23. And today is all about building power and strength. We will do so with some strong postures and doing some breath to movement type dynamic things. So when you are ready, and you will need a block for this, when you are ready, you come to lay down on your mat, on your back, soles of the feet on the mat, a little bit wider than hip width, and just let the knees fall in to rest on each other. Shoulders tucked, nice and long through the back of the neck. Let your arms rest at your side, or you can have your left hand over your heart, right hand over your belly, just however you want to be. Let's close the eyes. Bring the focus in. Don't overthink it. Don't overstress about trying to get super zen. It's literally just about natural breath, turning everything off outside the space, this room, and turning everything on within us, empowering ourselves, whether it's through simple things like just the breath, or empowering ourselves through strong postures. So 3 good elongated inhales and exhale. Cleanse that mental palate. Then let's grab our block, place it between the thighs, a little bit higher up, so our upper thighs, and we're going to have it at the most narrow, and really squeeze those thighs together, and then lift your heels. If you need to adjust the block, lift your heels up to heaven, really thinking about squeezing that block together. And you'll feel like this drive or this inner energy really pulling through the pelvic area and pulling that lower belly in, just staying nice and strong. Heels really reach to heaven, really squeezing that block. And then let's take the hands to the back of the neck gently. We're not using our arm strength, we're just using it more of support. Squeezing the block. Let's lift the head and shoulders up towards the feet. So really squeezing everything towards each other. So trying to create this little ball with our legs extended, squeezing that block, really activating. Stay strong. Nice deep inhale, exhale, gently release, lower those feet back down. Keep the block just where it is. If it started to shift a little, it's totally okay to adjust it. And let's bring the soles of the feet to the mat and drive to bridge. So still thinking about squeezing that block, getting that energy, creating that little ball of energy right at kind of like where our pelvic floor is. So just squeezing everything, staying nice and tight. Open this bridge, stay for the inhale. Exhale, gently lower down. Release that low back. And then keeping the block just where it is, let's shift both knees over to the right. Supine twist with this block. If you need to adjust a little, that's totally okay. And let's take the left arm out to the left and take the gaze out to that left thumb. Awesome. Let's gently bring everything back to middle and then switch sides. So once again, if you have to shift that block, that's totally okay. Let's drop those knees or lower those knees to the left. Reach that right arm out and take the gaze over to the right. Awesome. Let's gently come back to center. Set the block off to the side. Let's squeeze the knees into the chest and rock back and forth, kind of massaging that low back. And then let's grab opposite feet with opposite hands and use momentum, and we're just going to roll along the back to massage your back. So using momentum to come up, and then we're going to roll and rub that low back. Nice. I know this looks silly and feels silly, but it's really about keeping that little core nice and tight, using our body for momentum. Awesome. Finish up in this seated position, and then we will come to tabletop. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Nice and long through the crown of the bed, the crown of the head, all the way down to the tip of your tailbone. Imagine you're trying to pull that tailbone to the back of the room and the crown of the head to the front of the room. Just elongating the spine, shoulders pulled really down away from the ears. Tuck your toes. And as we exhale, lift the knees. Really having that belly button pulled in. Staying nice and strong. Really have those fingers spread well. Push the earth away from you to stay really strong in that shoulder girdle. Staying strong, staying empowered, really building up some energy. Keep holding. You've got this. Inhale, exhale, slowly lower those knees down. Keep the toes tucked, shift the hips up and back to downward dog. And just pedal things out in this downward dog. So straighten one leg, bend the knee of the other, just walking it out a little. If you need to get a little side stretch in each side, totally okay. Just waking up the spine, doing any sort of fluid movement, keeping it nice and organic. You're more than welcome. And then we'll find stillness for one nice round of breath. Nice generous bend in the knees. Hips really pulled up towards the sky. Grounded through that thumb and index finger. Let's inhale, bend the knees, take the gaze forward. Exhale, step gently to the top of your mat. Forward fold. Letting gravity do the work here. Arms hang down, or if you'd like, you may grab the elbows. Kind of shift from side to side. Just whatever you want to do to kind of wake yourself up. And then let's clasp the hands, staying in this forward fold. Clasp the hands behind the back and try and have them up and overhead. If you just want to hang out in that forward fold and not have this little bind with our hands, that's totally okay. Just have the arms up and overhead, really opening up the front of the shoulders. Gently rise up, keeping that bind, or if you don't have it too, that's okay. Come to this nice standing posture, arms still clasped behind us, little baby back bend as we pull the hands down towards the earth. Exhale, release that bind. Inhale, arms up and overhead, really reaching, wiggle the fingers. Exhale, palms to chest. Let's go ahead and imagine we have that block, very similar to what we did at the beginning of our practice today. And let's imagine we have that block between the inner thighs. Really squeeze the inner thighs as we push the earth away from us. Imagine like you're trying to just literally lift yourself off the ground with your feet by pressing the earth away from you. And it should create this little power or pathway of energy from the earth all the way up through the middle of the body, out through the crown of the head, pulling that tailbone down towards the earth. Thinking of that space between the belly button and spine, really having energy engaged there. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back to plank. Let's hang out here in this plank, making sure we're nice and set up. Really have the earth pressed away from us. Strong in our shoulders, not dumping anywhere, if you'll notice. So strong in our shoulders. When I say that, we're really pushing the earth away. Exhale, bend the elbows to the back of the room, keeping them nice and tight in towards the chest. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower all the way down. Let's have the hands reach towards the feet. So palms face down. Hands reach towards the feet. Inhale, rise to locust. So arms are really reaching those feet. Feet are lifted up off the ground. Pull those big toes together, squeezing everything to midline. And we're holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Bring the hands under the shoulders and the opposite of what we just did. So if you need to be on the knees, that's totally okay, and I'll show you on the knees. We're going to rise with a 5 count. So keeping those elbows nice and tucked in. Rise for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to plank. Awesome. Shift the hips up and back. Downward dog. Really great job. Find a round of breath. Find stability. And instead of using momentum to lift the leg and drive it forward, we're going to all use our inner power and inner strength to pull the knee, the right knee, towards the nose. Staying lifted as we lift the hips up. So coming up on those left toes, keeping that knee really nice and pulled into the chest, knee to nose. Gently step between the hands, runner's lunge. Staying nice and strong here. Setting up the feet, creating stability. We will inhale, rise to crescent, arms up and overhead. Grab your left elbow with your right hand. Get a nice side stretch. And we're going to do this little dynamic movement. So when we find our breath and position and keeping that left hip really pulled forward, nice and strong in both legs. Exhale, lower that back knee down gently all the way to the ground. Untuck the toes. Shift the hips back as we lean forward for a single leg split, keeping our arms just where they are. Rebend in that front knee, tuck those back toes, lift, power through that front leg, back to crescent. Awesome. One more round. Lower that back knee with control, all the way down, not dumping. Untuck those back toes, shift the hips back as the chest comes forward, single leg split. Awesome. Rebend in that front knee, tuck the toes, rise back to crescent. Awesome. Release that arm bind, arms up and overhead. Shift the weight forward as we lower down, our hands down to the ground, and lift up that back leg for single leg split. So hips are as square as possible. We're not opening up in that left side body. We really have that left leg lifted as high as we can get it. Nice bend in the front knee if you need it. Exhale, lower that left leg down, forward fold. Awesome. Catch our breath. in this forward fold. Generously bend the knees, ground as we root to rise, arms up and overhead, palms to chest. Awesome. As I catch my breath, let's just take a gaze, or take a moment, not take a gaze, to soften your gaze. Find just one little spot in front of us to focus on. Not letting our eyes shift and wander. Just find one spot and focus on just a deep inhale, exhale, release. Beautiful. Build that energy. Think about pushing the earth away from us again. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back to plank. And just like we did earlier, in this nice strong plank, hands pushed away from us, we'll do a 5 count to slowly lower down. So make sure you're keeping those elbows nice and tucked in, tight to the rib cage as you bend them to come down. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lower down. Beautiful. Let's take those hands, place the palms on the ground as our arms reach, fingers reached back towards the toes. Let's catch our breath again. My apologies. And we will inhale, rise to locust. Really squeezing those big toes together. Pinkies trying to reach each other. Everything lifted, legs lifted, chest lifted, heart pulled forward. Nice and tall through the crown of the spine. Exhale, lower down, hands under your shoulders, staying on our knees if you'd like, and I will show you so you know how it looks. We're then going to a 5 count rise. So the opposite of lowering down, rise up into that plank or push up. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to this upper plank or push up. Exhale, shift the hips up and back, downward dog. Awesome. One round of breath, deep inhale to lift the hips. Exhale, release. Just like we did on the other side, using all of our power within us, our strength that we have in our core. Let's take that left knee, drive it to our nose as we lift up onto those right toes, kind of shifting our hips and spine up towards the earth as the knee comes to the nose. Gently step between the hands. Adjust your feet however you need to. Inhale, rise to crescent. Strong in both legs, right hip really pulled forward, left hip pulled back. Let's grab that right elbow with our left hand. Take a nice deep inhale, exhale, lower that back knee down with control. Untuck the toes, staying strong, keep that belly button pulled in. Shift your hips back as you lean that chest forward, single leg split. Rebend in that front knee, tuck the back toes again, power up, crescent. One more round. Exhale, slowly with control, lower that back knee till it's on the ground. Untuck those back toes, shift the hips back as you lean the chest forward, single leg split. Keeping our arms in this nice bind so our left elbow's really grabbing that right elbow, not letting it dump into our neck as I catch myself doing that, staying nice and proud. Retuck those back toes, power up back to crescent. Awesome. Release that bind, arms up and overhead, really sinking into crescent. And then shift your weight forward, drive forward as you lift that right leg up, single leg split on this other side. So having a little bit of a bend in the left knee, hands resting on the ground. Just really thinking about using that right glute to lift that right leg. Awesome. Exhale, gently bring it down to meet the left, forward fold. Catching our breath, just hanging out here, letting our body recenter for a moment. Inhale, root to rise, arms up and overhead. Exhale, shift the hips back, chair pose. If you want to power this up a little bit more, you may come up on the toes in this chair pose. And if you don't want to be up here on the toes, you're more than welcome to just stay with both feet grounded, really thinking nice and strong and powerful. Keep that core pulled in. Exhale, gently release, forward fold. Awesome. And then let's lower the booty down to come to seated. Winding things down, starting to move down river. Let's bring that right leg to extend out in front of us. And then we're going to have the left cross over the right. So this modified cow, instead of having both legs, we're just going to have one. So just the left is crossed over the right. And this may be a little bit too much in the right, so if you do want to pull that right in and have your heels, both heels at your hips, that's totally okay. We're going to stay here. Inhale, find height in the spine, and exhale, fold forward. Gently come back up, and then we will take that left foot, unravel it from the right, bring both soles of the feet to the ground, reach the hands forward. So let's find height up through the crown of the head, and then just lean back ever so much, really activating in the core. Think of that little space between the belly button and the spine, really activated. And then very similar, that pelvic floor area, that what we built up with squeezing the block, using energy from both those spaces, and we're going to lift the legs, boat pose. Nice and strong. Stay for the inhale. We're only here for a moment. Staying strong, staying powerful. Exhale. Gently lower down and release. And then now let's take that left leg out in front of us, cross over with the right for this modified cow. And like I said, if this is too much pressure on your knee in this left leg, if you feel it a little bit too much, especially behind your knee, you are more than welcome to take your left leg and bring it in for cow pose. Let's inhale, find height up through the crown of the head, and then shift forward. Really starting to really embrace that energy we have going on right now. I know I'm very much out of breath trying to talk and do these postures, but just embracing that energy you're building up. The more air we intake, it just means our body's requesting more oxygen. It's requesting more from our environment around us in order to keep that homeostasis and stay happy. Really circulating the blood, the heart's pumping, sharing that oxygen to everywhere our body needs it. Awesome. Let's gently rise up, unravel the legs. One last round of boat. So really activating, pulling that belly button into your chest. chest pulled up towards the sky. Just gently shift back as you lift both legs up, arms reach forward. Boat pose. Staying nice and strong. And I'm shaking. It's totally okay if you're shaking a little bit. If this is too much, totally come out of it. Grab a glass of water. Do what you gotta do. Hang out in child's pose. Staying for the inhale, really nice and strong. Exhale, gently release. Lower everything down. Let me reposition and shimmy myself back onto my mat. Let's reach the arms up overhead and point the toes. Just imagine we're trying to separate the upper body from the lower body. Nice and strong. Awesome. Let's hug the knees into the chest. Rock side to side. And then take your block. Bring the soles of the feet to the earth. Take your block. Gently lift your hips up and then lower them back down. So you're right kind of that area where your sacrum or meets the low back. And you'll find it. You just have to kind of wiggle it around. If it's pinching anywhere, just need to adjust your block. And then we're really letting that pelvis feel nice and grounded through that block. The arms rest at your sides. Staying here in this supported bridge, really feeling that block kind of give energy into our low back and just give us the ultimate release in those areas we just spent so much time engaging. Let's just come to the natural breath. Wind ourselves down. Just still mindful with the breath. Eyes are closed, so we're not distracting ourselves with anything outside the room. With the gaze closed, it kind of creates this awesome energy within us, so we can focus more internally on internal senses rather than external. If you don't have a block for this, it's totally okay. You can do the same posture with a pillow. Awesome. Let's gently reactivate the pelvis by curling that tailbone up. Move that block. Shift it to the side, and let's pull the knees into the chest. And then we will finish out in seated, so when you're ready, just make your way to that seated. Head over heart, heart over pelvis. Tall up through the crown of the head, hands at our heart. Still warding off any of that negative energy or thoughts that are trying to come in right now. We're still right here internally protecting ourselves. Soften your gaze. Pull yourself in as far as you can. Just pretend like you're literally trying to create this tiny little self within us. Be as present as possible in it. You're more than welcome to stay here and hang out in this beautiful, restful state. Staying inward as long as you want. If you're not ready to reemerge, that's totally okay. As always, thank you so much for practicing with me today while we spent lots of time thinking about empowering ourselves and being strong and stable in today's practice. So I can't wait to see you all tomorrow for day 24. And as always, I love you, love you, love you. Thank you.